Hello, everyone. So today I have with me a very creative lady, and she's been doing this for a long time. I've been monitoring and every now and then celebrating her achievements here and there. But she's currently working or has worked on something that is in line with campaigning on malaria. So we get to that. But before that, we're going to speak to her for her to take us through a bit of her journey and all of that. Hello, Comfort.
Hi, Ameyaw.
How are you doing?
It's actually very nice. I've been waiting for a long time to have a conversation with you. So it's really nice to finally, after years
I know,
of
right?
actually finally having a conversation with you. So that's really nice. So thank you for having me on your platform.
Fantastic. So tell us a bit about yourself. How did you get to start from with your Ghanaian roots, go to the UK, and still find ways to have impact back home as well? Tell us how it all started.
So as you can tell from my English accent, I was born in the UK, but I had my parents are Ghanaian. And so I studied, I did a degree in graphic designing, and then I did my master's in animation. And, you know, I went to one of those prestigious art schools. And you think once you finish that, yay, I'm going to get a job after this. I can start working in Cartoon Network. I can work in Nickelodeon. But that wasn't the case. In the end, after I finished doing my master's, I was out of job. So I ended up working in a supermarket for a couple of years. And then I was so desperate to find work, and my sister saw an ad for Sparrow Production, Shirley from Convenso, and the ad was looking for a film editor. And I've never edited in my life, but I was just desperate to get a job. So I flew all the way from the UK to Ghana to have an interview with Shirley. And I remember when I was there, and Shirley and Ken Atol was asked me what stuff have I edited, and I had to blag my way. And I'm not saying this to everyone to do that, but sometimes you have to. When desperate measures come, you have to blag yourself. So I said to Shirley and Ken, oh yeah, I've worked in the UK for Channel 4, MTV, I've done all of that. And they were impressed. And then they said, okay, so we just want to see how good of an editor you are. So if you can start editing a TV series, one episode of Pete for us. And I was like, Jesus Christ, I've never edited. And so they wanted to see my performance and stuff like that. And when they saw it, I missed the deadline. But Shirley, bless Shirley and Ken, this one thing that Shirley said was that one thing we like about you, Comfort, you're not a great editor, but we're going to teach you that, but you can tell stories through your cut. And that's one thing about a filmmaker that has resonated with me for so long as a filmmaker, is that telling stories and how to make sure you're telling a story that matters. So I worked at Sparrow for 3.5 years, working on Be Republic and Adam's Apple, the TV series, which I edited. But then as I'm an animator, I realized that I wasn't still being fulfilled as an animator. So I sadly left Sparrow Production to become a freelance animator. And I started doing a lot of films that talked about social-related issues. And one of my first films, Imagine, won Golden Movie Award, which was amazing. And then I did my film that everyone is still being shown, Black Barbie, which talks about skin bleaching. And I worked with Ameyaw, and that took me so far. So I focused a lot on that. And then my other film that I did, which was called Living in Ghana, Get Me Out of Here, which won an AMA last year, the first ever Ghanaian animation to ever win an AMA, which was amazing. And and then I started, and so that's how I got into animation, and just making short films that was a lot of on social related topics, and also doing films that talked about my being born in England and living in Ghana, which I did. I'm living in Ghana, Get Me Out of Here. And then I got commissioned by Comic Relief to do a project about malaria, and now I'm working on a TV show in the UK. So it's just, that's how I've progressed. Yeah.
I mean, listen to the journey. You can see it's been a bit of the passion and the determination. So how long have you had that passion for film? And also, why the focus on telling African stories?
I think it's important. I think so we've been westernized so much in society now, so people have forgotten about our stories. And we, Africa, we have so many stories to tell, and we are in, I'm not being biased, but we are the best at storytelling. We have so much rich stories that are still yet to be told. And I think with animation, it's such a shame. A lot of us growing up, especially children now, seeing some of my friends' children not getting to see a lot of animation that represent them. And I've seen the effects when we don't have our images being represented, how much of a damage it can have on young children when they grow up. They don't want to look like, they see a lot of white or characters and never see characters that represent them. And that's one of the reasons why I've been felt so strong to do a lot of stories in animation and in film, because we need to tell our stories, and people need to see Africa and see Ghana or see a Black character that they can, relate to.
Fantastic. So what was the story behind the underestimated villain?
So firstly, thank you for sharing it. I really appreciate that. That was great. But the underestimated villain, basically Comic Relief reached out and they wanted a short film that talked about malaria. But I'm sure you've seen a lot of these educational malaria films that are, I'm not here to say, bad, those people that have done it, but they're very educational, but they're not entertaining, and they don't leave an impact, an imprint on you when you watch it. So when I was working with my team, and I've done a lot of films that tackle these difficult topics in challenging topics. So I knew that as I've used Black Barbie with poetry, I knew that poetry as a tool with animation would be very effective to talk about these issues. So I worked with a great poet called Poetra Asantewa. I'm not sure if you know her. So we worked together and she came up with an amazing poem called The Underestimated Villain. So when we were talking, me, Poetra, and Emily Dubois, my producer, we came up with the same things, because I've been to Ghana, I've lived in Ghana for 8 years, and the same problems occur. We know about malaria, we know all the preventive measures, yet still we always get malaria. People get malaria all the time. I've had malaria so many times and I know how to prevent it. So me and Poetry were talking, we said, there's no point of us saying the education, stuff. Why don't we use reverse psychology? Why don't we have now this villain now mocking the audience, saying, I know I'm going to say all of these things to you guys, but you guys are still not going to change anyway, to get people to think, and that was what we came up with. So she came up with the poem, and then I read it, and I realized that it would be interesting to have Anna Phyllis as this, diva, this, woman that is celebrated like a celebrity. And I'm thinking about all these, female celebrities in Ghana, when they go to premieres, they're all dressed up and stuff like that. And I was thinking it would be interesting to have this Anopheles, who is the female mosquito that actually passes on malaria, to be celebrated and by her so-called mosquitoes, but she's actually mocking the audience. And so we touched on other themes like, I'm not sure if you've seen Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, the bathroom scene where she gets murdered in the bathroom. So we used that as well as a parody to create that sort of sense of humor.
Great. So what were the challenges telling this story in your way?
When it comes to these sensitive topics, you want to make sure it's entertaining, but you don't want it to make sure you don't want to miss the point. So we wanted to make sure it was entertaining, yet still had those educative factors put in. But you don't also want it to be over-educated, that people get bored and lose concentration. And we also wanted to make sure that it was a specific time, like 5 minutes felt right. So it wasn't too much information, but in a way, it'll get people sitting down to think more about this issue of malaria. And I mean, I've read some of the comments that people have read, have said about it, and I thought, yes, it's actually doing, the right thing. And I've had interviews, and the moment I talk about malaria, I get shut down. That we already know about that malaria is causing so many problems. And then I say, but that's the point, but you guys are not taking the right actions to prevent it. And that was the whole reason why we did this short film.
What was your experience of working with other talents on this project like?
So it's been interesting because most of my films, like living in Ghana, I did most of the animation, and it was interesting because this time I took a seat as a director and not an animator, which was great because then I could, just direct and not animate. And I think animation is a very collaborative medium. And I think, due to a lot of infrastructures in Africa, you tend to start doing everything yourself, but it's not the case. When you do animation, you have to collaborate. And it was great to collaborate with so many people and animators that are very talented. We worked with an animator in Ghana, in Nigeria, with the storyboard artist was from Nigeria, the actress was from Ghana. So it's a very Pan-African film. And it was challenging too, because we were in the pandemic. So we did this during the pandemic, and having to direct on Zoom and have meetings on Zoom because we're not all together, and direct the actors on Zoom. It was very challenging for me. But in the end, the results, it came out really strong.
Fantastic. And you didn't mention that some of the comments that you've seen shows that people really did get the message and the way you want to do it. But in totality, how well have people received the film?
I think it's been received well. One of the reasons is that we've got it dubbed into different dialects. So I remember John DeMello, he shared it in the Tree version, which was great because Ghana is not just English. And that's one thing when we were doing this, we didn't want it to be just in English because we're trying to get the message of malaria across. So it has to be cut across all the different dialects and the different tribes. So it was great to have, recently we've just shared the Ga version, and a lot of people are saying, oh, this is great, it's in Ga, we appreciate it. And people don't realize that when you do a film and you pull it into another dialect, people appreciate it because everything is always in English. And sometimes when you do it in your local language, it's more accessible to the audience. And there's a lot of illiteracy in Ghana. So when it's done in the local dialect, it makes it more accessible to people that don't understand English. And this is an important message. And I think it's important that it's not just in English.
So, malaria continues to make the headlines. And recently, WHO approved a vaccine for malaria. And we're all looking forward to that. But what do you think the rest of us as creatives can do to help this fight against malaria?
I think, it's not just one animation is not gonna change the whole situation, but I do believe that, there's so much room for creatives to actually carry on with this whole project, because we've worked, Comic Relief has also worked with Zero Malaria, Draw the Line, and they've come up with so many creative concepts about malaria. So it's not just animation, comics, children books. There's so many other means, or even a short film about malaria in a creative way. My short film, The Underestimated Billion, proves that you can tell these sort of not so, I won't say interesting stories, but these stories can be told in a creative way to get your message across. And I'm not the only person that has done an animation with Comic Relief. There's two Tanzania films which were amazing as well, and one was a mockumentary about malaria. So there's so many ways that animation or storytelling or filmmaking can be used to talk about difficult subjects, and that's the power of creativity.
Fantastic. And what next for Comfort? Do you see yourself doing more social advocacy focused films like you've done in the past?
Yeah, so we are there's so many other projects that I'm working on. I'm currently we're still in pre-production, but I'm working on another project, which is more commercial at the moment. But for my own personal project, I'm currently working with the same producer, Emily Dubois, on a project about mental health with Black men. So that's currently still in development, but we're hoping to get that, that's another important topic. And no one talks about mental health, especially in the Black community. And so that's what we're currently working on. So we're just trying to get funding, and we've already pitched it to Amnesty in 2020 when the pandemic happened. And then because of the pandemic, things have been quiet. So hopefully we will be able to get that running. And then what else am I? Yes, so I'm already currently directing another a show. So that's been interesting as well, and quite hectic. So it's been, quite busy. So it's just trying to get all my personal projects out there, and yeah.
Any plans of traveling to Ghana soon? The mosquitoes miss you. They need to bite you.
No, I mean, Ghana is home. It's just so unfortunate. This pandemic, just when we were working on this project, and the pandemic happened, and it's just been so difficult to just be traveling back. But definitely, I will be definitely coming home. I also want to work on a live action project one day. So that's another thing that I'm very interested in, doing live action stuff as well.